The poster proclaimed joy, available in crystal jars. Call now. Below the text, there was a phone number. I was heading home after an exhausting day at work when I noticed the paper stapled to an old telephone pole. Finding it amusing, I snapped a picture. I intended to show my wife when I got home, but I got sidetracked with household chores, cooking dinner, doing the dishes, laundry, packing a snack for our son, putting him to bed, and then tidying up his toys scattered in the living room. The routine was the same every night. The next morning, I woke up lying back to back with my wife. I always had to rise earlier than her for work, so I quietly prepared for the day and left the house. At the office, I worked on updating the company's latest expense report. Most days were just like this one. Essentially, they were paying me to stare at a computer for 9 hours a day and input a few numbers into a spreadsheet. I finished my tasks quickly, so I decided to leave the office early. It was Friday, and many people leave early at the end of the week. During my walk back, I reflected on what my life had become. This was a frequent habit of mine. When I was younger, I dreamed of traveling. I wanted to drive across the country or backpack solo across Asia. Then I met Emily. Don't get me wrong, I love Emily. I still do. The spark just isn't there anymore. When you enter a relationship, whether it's meant to be or not, some of your personal plans have to be postponed. Then that relationship turns into marriage, then you have a baby, then you enroll your child in preschool, then you get a higher paying job and work more hours, and so on. I'm not seeking pity. I'm just saying I wasn't exactly thrilled with where I was in life. I wouldn't have described myself as a happy person. Taking the usual route home, I passed by the same poster I saw the previous day. For reasons I couldn't explain, I decided to call the number. I figured it might be some kind of joke. Maybe someone would just say, "I love you," and hang up. Or perhaps it was a line for a sex worker. I had no idea what to expect. I called. It only rang once before someone answered. "Hello," a woman said. Hi, I'm calling about your poster." "Your ad?" "Oh, great," she replied calmly. "When do you want to pick it up?" "Pick what up?" "The jar," she said, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. "Oh, right, I realized I had left work early without telling Emily, so I could just go pick it up now without her knowing. What exactly are you selling?" "I told you, it's joy, in a crystal jar, like the poster said. Joy keeps best in crystal jars. They're more durable than, say, a plastic bag." "Oh, okay, should we meet somewhere?" "For sure. I don't want you to end up being a creep or something, so let's meet in a public place." We decided on a cafe parking lot a little over a mile from me. Now, I didn't actually think I was going to buy a jar of joy or whatever. I was 99% sure she was going to sell me drugs. Maybe heroin would be in the jar. I remember thinking, oh no, joy is probably a nickname for some street drug and I'm going to a drug deal. What if she's a cop? Am I going to be arrested? But something inside me urged me to keep walking, and so I did. I stood outside and texted her. "I'm here," I texted. "Cool, be there in a sec," she responded. "What are you driving?" I asked. "Blue Civic," she replied. As her final text came through, I saw her car pull in. She parked not too far from where I stood. I could see there was no one else in the car, which put my kidnapping fears to rest. She opened her door and stood on the pavement, looking around until her eyes met mine. I gave her a nod of acknowledgement. She responded by waving her hand, gesturing for me to come over to her car, so I did. She was young, maybe in her mid-20s, with curly, auburn hair. Her pale skin contrasted with the all-black outfit she was wearing. She looked like Glinda the Good Witch from The Wizard of Oz had put on the Wicked Witch's clothes. "Nice day out," she said in greeting. "Oh yeah, it is. I hadn't really paid attention to it." "You were the one that called about the jar, right?" "Yeah, that was me." "Cool, well, here you go." She handed me a very small, crystal mason jar. It couldn't have been more than 2 inches tall. Inside it was a light, not a light bulb, just light. It looked like someone bottled up sunshine. It glowed even in the mid-afternoon daylight. It looked like a tiny sun or a tiny universe existing in this little crystal wall home. I was admiring it with no attempt to hide the awe on my face. "Pretty rad, isn't it?" What is it?" "You've asked that like 3 different times, I think. My answer is still the same. It is joy. Joy in a crystal jar. What do I do with it? Keep it, she said simply. If you have any problems, shoot me a text. She started to get into her car. Wait, I said. I thought you were selling this. How much is it? Don't worry, man, she said with a smile. You'll pay. She closed her door and I stepped out of her way as she backed up, then drove off. What the hell had just happened? What was I holding? I looked down at the jar again, its radiance mesmerizing. I put it in my pocket and could see its glow slightly through my pants. I began to walk home. What was just a nice, sunny day quickly turned into a rainy one with clouds covering the sky. It wasn't forecasted to rain, or else I would have taken the bus or subway to work that day. I jogged home trying not to get too drenched. I finally found shelter once I made it to my apartment building. I walked up to my door and found that my key wasn't on my key ring anymore. Damn, I can't believe I lost it again, I thought. I knocked on the door and said in a somewhat loud voice, "Hey babe, it's me." I don't know what happened to my key. I heard the door being unlocked from the other side. When the door opened, I was greeted by a large, heavy-set man with greasy hair and an unkempt goatee. He said, "I think you got the wrong door, bud." "Oh," I said, disoriented. "My bad, sorry. Have a good one." He let out a chuckle as he closed the door. Apartment number 23. I know that was my apartment. I know it was. I'd been in apartment 23 for 5 years now, but that was not my apartment. From what I could see inside, all the furniture was different. It was painted a different color. It was all wrong. I felt like I'd hit my head and was drugged. In that moment, nothing made sense. I pulled out my phone to call Emily so she could calm me down and tell me I just got confused for a second. But her contact wasn't in my phone. In fact, nothing was in my phone. I had no messages with her. No previous calls. No pictures. It was like my phone reset to its factory settings. Did that girl somehow switch my phone out when I wasn't looking? I would have just dialed Emily's number manually, but I couldn't quite remember it. I had known it by heart before, but not anymore. I needed to get back to the office. I had all my contacts backed up on my work computer. Since it was still raining, I hopped on the bus, which had a stop right in front of the apartment complex. I rode downtown toward my office, the whole time staring at my wet shoes, wondering what the hell was going on. We have a keycard access to our building, so only authorized personnel can get inside. I always keep my access card in my wallet always. But surprise, surprise, it wasn't there. I buzzed into the speaker we had for guests with appointments or employees as a backup in case anyone lost or forgot their card. "This is Jack. I must have lost my card. My employee number is..." I stopped as I drew a blank. A voice came through the speaker. "Jack, you got cut out. What's your employee number?" "Well, I can't remember." "That's fine. Just tell me your full name and department." Finance. I'm in finance. My full name is Jack Thompson." "One sec." About 30 seconds later, the man spoke to me again. "We don't have a Jack Thompson working in this building. Did you have an appointment with someone?" I backed up in surprise, almost tripping on my own feet. I had just been in that office an hour or two ago. What was happening to me? I felt like I was getting Alzheimer's, but going through every stage in one day. I stared at my hands, unsure if I was in the right body. I felt like the world around me was disintegrating. I wasn't in control. I was merely sitting inside somebody else's head, watching the world through their eyes. Just then, I got a text. I recognized the number immediately. It was that girl, the one who gave me the jar. I had forgotten all about it until I saw her text. Her. "Hey, how's it going?" I looked at my phone, dumbfounded. It made me angry she was so nonchalant about this. She knew what was going on. She had done this somehow. Me? What the hell did you do to me? Her. The worst is yet to come. I was astronomically close to just chucking my phone as far as I could in frustration. I took the jar out of my pocket. It looked unchanged, still glowing just as bright. "What the hell did you do?" I yelled at the jar, realizing I probably looked like a lunatic. As I stared at its glistening crystal, I realized something. I didn't know what my wife's face looked like anymore. I knew her name. Well, I know it started with an E or maybe an M. I couldn't picture her in my mind. I knew I had a wife. I knew I did. Yes, because I had a son. I had a wife and a son. I just couldn't remember their faces then, or their names, or their birthdays, or any memories I had with them. I know they existed. They did exist. I had just seen them that morning, right? I couldn't remember how she looked, or what she smelled like. What was our first date? We had a wedding, right? What about our first kiss? Or my son? Or was it my daughter? Maybe I didn't even have a kid, but my wife or girlfriend, she was real. I knew she was. The thought was tearing me apart. I couldn't see her in my head. I couldn't recall a single fact about her. I was standing outside of the same building, but I was unsure why I was. Did I work there? I must work somewhere. The rain was accompanied by a chilly wind now. It was whipping in my face, making my nose and cheeks sting. I wanted to go home. I wanted to be with her. I wanted to be warm. I wanted to go into a shitty office job that kept a roof over my head. I wanted it all. I was soaking wet. I was miserable. I couldn't remember my parents or my childhood. Did I even have any friends? Why was I in the rain? I looked down at my hand. I was still clutching the jar. The only memory of my entire life I could concretely remember was that girl giving it to me, telling me it was joy. It did not bring joy. It brought pain. It brought suffering. I was more miserable in that moment than I'd ever been. My phone buzzed. Break the jar, Jack. I looked at my other hand. With the setting sun and the rainy sky, I swear the jar glowed brighter than any street light near me. I didn't break it because I was following her instruction. I broke it because I was angry. I broke it because I was upset. I needed a release. I raised my arm above my head and brought it down with one swift motion, shattering the jar on the concrete beneath my feet. That dark, chilly air accompanying the rain spread away like it was the shockwave of a bomb going off, and I was at the epicenter. I saw the warm yellow light from inside the jar spread rapidly across the ground and ascend into the sky. It was as if I was watching the beginnings of the universe being created, like God had just snapped his fingers and said, "Let there be light." I was engulfed in it. I could no longer see the street or rain or anything dark. I felt like I was plummeting into a star going faster than the speed of light. It felt like sitting in front of a fire on a cold winter's night, but that warmth was covering every inch of my body. And then I blinked. Immediately, I could feel the sheets beneath me and my back barely touching my wife's. I was staring out the window. The morning light drenched through the glass and gleamed on my face. I stood from bed and grabbed my phone. It was Friday morning. I had one text. "Let me know if you ever need another jar." I called in sick to work. I snuck into my son's room and greeted him with a kiss and told him he didn't have to go to preschool today. We were going to have a family day. He smiled and stretched out his arms with a yawn before curling up and falling back asleep. I got back in bed and squeezed my wife tightly. I didn't let go for hours. Our son came into our room and woke us up eventually. He was jumping on the bed and shouting for us to wake up. Yesterday, I may have found that annoying. Yesterday, I may have found a lot of things annoying or monotonous or dull. But not today. Today, I pulled him under the covers in between me and Emily. Today was going to be a good day. Today, I was happy. Thank you for watching.